So James, let me just start with ask you a couple questions if I may. Tell everybody where you live.
Yes, sir. I'm in a little town called Ace, Texas, about an hour and a half north of Houston. So I'm about 20 miles out of the city each way you go.
I got you. Okay, awesome. So tell me, James, what did you do before you started selling insurance? What did you do for a living?
Pretty much, man. Anything you could think of, blue collar work, tried and true. But my trade was actually welder inspector, and I was a welder trainer at UTLX, a train company, build
Okay,
tank cars and repair tank cars and things like that. I was there for 8 years.
gotcha. For 8 years. Okay, gotcha. So you were doing that when you started going through the licensing process. You were still doing that for a living, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I
Yep.
was. I was still doing that, and actually, funny enough, one of my other coworkers there, got his life insurance license and went off by himself, and so I let him take the plunge, right? Because he was in it, and I let him take the plunge, and I learned from staying in contact with him a lot of things that I wanted that he was experienced with the place he was with because he was doing traveling. He was going and driving, doing face to face sales. And
Right.
I did. I was like, "Man, there's got to be an easier way. You can't just do that on the phone." He's like, "You can, but this system's more set up where we have a couple people that do it over the phone, but it's set up to get leads and go out and talk to them." I was like, "Man, that ain't gonna really work for me. There's got to be a different way. There's got to
Yep.
be." And so I just, as I was like, I like it because he told me about the money you can make in it. I seen him make sales and I seen the commission checks. I was like, okay, cool. So there is something here. So I started getting licensed. I was still working my shift work job because it was shift work. And I was, at the time, I was, shoot, I think second and third shift, going to first shift. It was always crazy. So I was getting my license. I decided I want to get my license, and I actually needed to find somewhere to get plugged in because I seen things I didn't like that my buddy Bobby was going through. That's his name, Bobby. And I was like, man, I don't like that. I don't want to deal with that if I'm going to do this. I had to make this thing work. So I started Googling, looking up places, and it was actually in a Reddit mentioned Summit Life group. So I started digging around, finding that. I submitted my little form, and Craig reached out to me, talked to me one morning when I got off work. I was at the gas station getting breakfast tacos, and he talked to me um, about Summit Life Group, talked to me about Rich and David and how successful they were, and he invited me to this right here, to the Fast Start Huddle. And I was like, well, let me check these people out because I can see them, they can't see me, kind of thing. So I started, as I was getting licensed, I was signing on in the morning. I was so excited that I got the link, but I started signing on in the morning just like this and listening and just like seeing how it all worked. And then I seen Rich doing live dials, and I seen people actually interacting with him. I was like, okay, yep, this is it. I can do it from home with my kids. I won't have to worry about traveling and missing anything anymore. I won't have to worry about shift work, and the system works because I seen the guy do it with my own eyes.
Yep.
Um,
So you got started. So talk about when you got started. You would go into work typically what time? Like I mean, what? So now you're licensed, and now you're kind of getting to the point of you're going to start selling insurance. Your day looked like you would get up at what time to go to work?
5:30. I'd have to
Five
get
thirty,
up.
and you
Yes,
would
sir.
you would you would be at work, and you started buying leads, doing all that, and then what? And then you have two kids, right?
Yes, yes,
So
sir.
you would typically get off work at your welding job. What time did you get off work typically?
Yes, sir. I can walk you through that, like what my everyday looked like when I started part time.
Yep.
Was I'd get up, go to work before the sun up, and I'd go and do everything that entailed, which is just labor, welding inspection, climbing in and out, and on top of tank cars outside in the sun, getting burned up all the time. But yes, and then I do that depending on what shift I was in. But I got it set pretty good between second and first shift, where I could manage the hours where I had time to dial. But then I'd get off at 4:30, and I'd shoot home straight to the bus stop, get my kids off the bus stop. Then I'd come home, shoot up in my little loft, like little office I set up for myself, nothing big. I'm 5'8", and I can stand up in it, and it's just like my little room up there. I can touch the top of my head. But I started with 10 leads a day because I started with $500 leads, and I started 10 leads a day, and I would just dial the heck out of everything I had to dial for like that 3 to 4 hour window.
Yeah. So you would dial. So for people on here, again, that wasn't. I don't think that's necessarily super convenient. You were getting up at 5, going to work, going home, getting your kids, but you were jumping straight into it. And so from like 5 o'clock to probably 8:30, those 3 hour period,
Until it was dark, until I had to learn whenever people started getting upset because that's what got people don't realize either. Back then, man, when I started, y'all didn't have leads accessible everywhere like y'all do now. Like y'all didn't have Texas yet, where I could get the lead cost. I was gonna have to pay more for Texas or go get my leads from somewhere else. So instead of doing that, I got North and South Carolina, and I'm already licensed in Texas. So Summit expanded to Texas, and now I got 3 that I can get leads from. So I actually got to grow with y'all, and it was simple.
So I love that. So you would dial into the evening, and then you started obviously making sales, and then talk about like, so you were working for 6 months, working hard in the selling, but you're also working your job. What did that look like? So talk about kind of what that looked like during that 6 months, and then maybe after that.
Yeah, man, it was just a hustle and a grind. I knew I wanted out because I was a stepping stone there, and I'd done watch for years of me training everybody and me doing over and beyond because I was capable, and getting like extra recess time. So I was determined. I was watching the people I was training become my superiors, it was cool, and I loved it, but it was like, I felt like I deserved more. So I was on a mission. I was on a mission to get out. I was on a mission. I knew my kids were playing sports, starting to play sports and do things. I didn't want to miss that kind of stuff because my mom and dad, my dad was blue collar. He might have been able to afford to put me in it, but he might not be there. And I didn't want to be that dad. So I was on a mission. Those 3 or 4 hours windows, those were important. When I was at work, if I could schedule one of my leads and I knew I could do it around my lunchtime or something, I'd done apps before on my phone because with our carriers, American Amicable, all of them, you can submit an app on your phone. I can put a client on speakerphone and I can take their information. Like, no, I can't do it with my CRM, but I could ask them question for question on that app. And I've submitted apps while I was at work, outside, just because I had to seize the opportunity because I knew I wanted out. I had to burn the candle, but I knew I wanted out. And guess what? Because I done it, because I stuck to it in 6 months, I was making $30 an hour there. Plus little overtime if I wanted it. And really my job was gravy. I was a trainer, things like that. But in 6 months, I was keeping track because I was like, I have to be able to support my family off this. I can't just quit doing everything I've been doing, to chase this without it being solid. So I was tracking so I could also show my wife, like, look, baby, it's working. I'm doing it. And in 6 months, I had just made it more with this business part-time than I was at my union job.
Yeah.
And then things fell in line for me, where in 6 months I talked to Rich and things fell in line the way they were supposed to. And I'm like, dude, it's time. Like, I'm going full time, and here I am.
Well, I love that, man, because so what I love about it is, like, if you think about it, being in the short term, the most convenient, easiest thing for him would have been, hey, let me just work overtime at a union job and make a little bit more money. Probably would have been easier than than going home and at home and grinding out those 3 hours. But that sacrifice, right, of doing that for a period of time. And guys, he didn't do it for 6 months like he was just getting on huddle. He was dialing, putting in the reps, having the conversations.
I was actually getting on the huddles. Like, when I talked to Craig and stuff, I was still like, once I figured out you guys were who I'm going with, it was about a month later, I actually passed my test and then got my carriers and stuff. And then December, like 2nd or 3rd, is when I made my first dials. So I was already committed. Like, I done realized, like, this is what I wanted to do.
Yep. And part of the reason James never, and again, it's not about the lead. I was talking with Mark about this yesterday. People, if you change what you're doing so often, you can't get traction. It's better to do the same thing that's not even as good. I mean, honestly, but do it so repetitively that you know it like the back of your hand.
Yep.
You get better results than when you constantly introduce variables. And the reason James went very fast is for whatever reason, and I don't know the reason why, but for whatever reason, he just did it. Like he didn't like if James asked me a question, I said, do this lead. He did that lead, and then he just did it repetitively over and over and over and over and over. And he didn't change it all the time and overcomplicate it and kept it really simple. And that's how you really compress time frames. And that's a credit to you because it's not me. I wasn't the one getting off work and going home and putting in that sacrifice and putting in the work, and you did. So talk
Well,
about your
I'll keep it simple like that, Rich. It really, if you break it down and think about it, right? I seen what you were doing. I seen on the huddles. That's why whenever I was filling you out, I seen what you were doing, and I could see you were genuine. And then I seen you actually put it in action. I was like, okay, man, this guy's gonna do these dials on these leads in front of all these people that he's pushing, and they're answering, and he's booking appointments. So I'm like, okay, because I knew life insurance worked. I knew you could make money doing it, and I
yeah.
seen you do it over the phone. And I was like, that's why I never went to, because even when I started, we didn't have all the inbound leads and stuff. We didn't have
Yeah.
all that. And when I started, it was just outbound leads, and that's what I seen you work, and that's what I seen you book appointments on, and that's I was like, I just got to keep doing this until I hit it like he did, because I seen him hang up on you. I seen him not answer. I seen the bad numbers, but then I seen him answer, and then I seen you had conversations, and I could see where I was like, these people are going to freaking buy his insurance. They're going to buy it. Like,
Exactly.
that's just like, all I got to do is figure out how to do what he did.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. That's all I
You're
did.
amazing. So talk about real quick the things you've been able to do. Now, guys, look, I mean, James works, we all work, and that's not, but when we talk about lifestyle, I just want to be like, the reason we said lifestyle and why that was so important to us is because that's obviously unique to each person. It's not like, oh, we're just going to sit on the beach and drink margaritas and do nothing, right? That's not what we're talking about. It's having the flexibility to kind of be with your family. And obviously that's totally different for each person, but what does it kind of look like for you compared to getting up at 5:30 and going to your welding job versus what your life is now?
I'll give it to you like this, Rich. And because I'm not one of the life insurance agents that push your ball and rolling and all the money, because it's not like that. It's an opportunity to make really good money and to build something real, something that's yours. So I'll put it like this. Whenever you're available and your time is your own, that's whenever a lot of things can happen. So last year, I'm 32. I've never been able to travel. I've barely been in Louisiana, and I'm only an hour or so away from it. When I was a kid, I think I barely went up in Arkansas when I was a kid, and I've been all over Texas, just working pipelines, things like that. Texas is huge. So this year, everything lined up for me because I was available. It was
Yep.
last year, literally a year from today, because it's about to be spring break for my kids.
Yep.
And last year, it just became available because we were available. It was $500 to stay in the middle of Ouray, Colorado, in the middle of the mountain peak in cabins with my kids and enjoy snow. Do you remember, Rich, when I
Yeah.
was
Oh,
I
yeah.
was
I
posting
remember.
stuff?
Yep.
Bro, it cost me $500 to stay a whole week. And the thing was, it's not because I had a ton of money that I was able to do that. It was I was available, and my time was my own, and I
Yep.
was able to catch that sale. Because why? I don't work for anybody. I work for myself. I work for my family.
Yep.
So that's where it changes.
Exactly.
And then
And
guess what I did? I went brought my laptop, and I was able
exactly.
to help clients while I was in the middle of the mountains because there was a Wi-Fi connection
Yep.
after I built a snowman with my kids.
Exactly. Well,
That it's not the thing. It's not that I had just bunches of money coming out of my wazoo to do this trip. I didn't. But I had enough money to do it fun, comfortably, and I was available and had the time frames because I worked for myself, not a slave to somebody,
yeah.
to make that happen. God was able, I'll say it, I'm sorry, but God was able to line that up and make that happen for me because I was available.
Yeah.
So I'll put it
Absolutely.
that way. If you're really thinking about it, don't think about it as just the money. Think about the long term, man. Think about the freedom it gives you. And part time, I'll put it like this, Rich. Part time, when I was doing it, putting that money in that account, whenever I decided to go full time, I would have had more money in that account. But in that time, man, I was able to really do things because we needed new things around the house to get caught up and build a good foundation for me to go out on my own. Dude, I had 10 grand sitting in the account. Okay, babe, let's take care of XYZ. I still have my check coming in. This is just extra right now to get us established.
Yeah.
We need new car tires. Boom, here's a few $1,000s. Go get them. It's a tax write-off and we need it. And then by the time I was ready to start, we were set up. And I had probably 20, almost 30 grand sitting in that business account. And I had overhead. And I went through the process. I didn't rush it, and it all just lined up, man.
Yeah. No, it's a great story. And I mean, everything you shared is exactly right. Cause look, I mean, look, if lifestyle, like even being able to, I mean, I made a point like a couple weeks ago when I was in St. Thomas, that really wasn't a vacation. I was just working from down there, right? I mean, now there's nothing wrong with taking true vacations too, but I'm just making a point. Like that's the beautiful thing about virtual sales. Not knocking field sales, but you can't do that with field sales because you have to go to where your leads are. And so are there advantages to field sales? Yes, and great. And that's why I always tell everybody, if you want to do field sales, do it. But if you learn to sell virtually, the where your leads are located can become a boss, right? So a lot of like field agents, they can't go make a snowman in Colorado and still make sales, right? But we can do that. So like there's no limitations to where you can go and still be able to earn a living. And then if you just want to go on vacation, great, right? But that's really what the lifestyle is. But the biggest thing is being able to be there for his kids. I know you've shared a lot, like you couldn't have gone to practices in the past. You couldn't have gone to school plays at his kid's school.
Oh man, it broke my heart. What really broke my heart when I knew I had to get out, like I knew it, was when it was my son's first football season. And the reason I was waiting, because I knew I had to wait to fully dedicate myself between work, football with my son, and the business. So I was in football season while I was getting licensed. But it broke my heart because I thought they were going to force me to work one Saturday, and they have a point system. And it was like one of those things, like if they make me work and I take a point, I risk losing my job. But my son, like me and him are a team, bro. Like he's out there. That's my favorite player, you know. And the thought of me having to tell him, Dad's not going to be able to make it Saturday, buddy, but good luck. It almost makes you tear up now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't accept that. So, and luckily I didn't have to miss it, but I was on a mission, bro. I was on a mission.
Well, I'll just tell you, and I don't want to offend anybody because but probably if I offend anybody, it's probably not the group that's on here. But if anybody ever told me that I was going to get a point as a grown man, if I didn't go to my son's Saturday thing, I mean, I might go if I had to in the moment to work, but I'll tell you one thing, that'd be the last time that I ever was told that. Because if you
exactly,
and this is why I want to emphasize it, because this, like, we want to encourage this entrepreneur. Like, again, I'm not trying to be offensive, but like that's what motivated you. That them telling you they're going to give you a point, or you're going to can't go to your son's practice. That's what James remembered when he got off work at 4:30 and went and dialed for 3 or 4 hours.
Yep, that's what offended me.
Other people
Let's
like,
put it that way.
Sorry.
That offended me. And I'll say this, Rich. Freedom's not offensive, Rich. Freedom's not offensive. You're not going to offend anybody on here because freedom is not offensive.
I agree. Yep. But some people, that's like, oh, okay, that's fine. And so I'll highlight that because that's the drive that you need, right? We've all been told things like that. And so that's the drive that you need sometimes to go do it, right? It's the dream, but it's all like it's also some of the negative stuff. Like, dude, I don't want to be trapped in there and not be able to be with my kids and all the things. So I know that was the big driver for you, and that's why you made the sacrifice. Because
yeah, man, in ministry, I like doing ministry. And doing it opens up options to anything you like to do because I have literally the CRM on my phone, on my iPhone. I have the CRM here. I have everything to my carriers. I can dial leads while somebody's driving if I want. I'm like, hey, keep it down. I got a call I need to make. And then I can do the app if I want. I can keep my laptop with me. Like, it's the freedom to actually be who you really are, not who you're trapped to you can actually do what you want to do and still making the money becomes a byproduct to what you want in life. And then you can actually do the things that you want to do, that you're meant to do,
Yep.
That's the way I feel
I
about
love
it
that you
anyways.
share that. My wife always drives because I can always be working. I remember coming back from Florida on vacation, writing applications in the car, because
Come on.
it's 6 hours, And I remember turning around yelling at my kids, because they're making noise. I'm like, I can barely hear Miss Martha, and I'm trying to do the app because you can do your Wi-Fi on your computer.
Yeah.
You can't do that in
Miss
Drive.
Miss Martha ends up loving your kids, doesn't she?
Huh?
Miss Martha ends up just loving your kids,
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
she?
because it becomes your biggest advantage. That's what.
Yep.
So like you tell us, I'm sorry, Miss. I'm trying to help you with. I don't remember if it was Miss Martha, but I'm trying to help you, Miss Martha. But I got my kids. We're coming back. Well, you can call me later. No, I want to help you now. And then they start kidding. Like it becomes real,
My
right?
kids
And
start talking to my clients. My
yep,
kids will come in and they'll be like, "Hi," and then it's over from there, man.
yep. Yep. And people, you think that's going to be a problem. It's not. If like, I know Kelsey does like if I had Riley next to me with her little raspy voice, I'd make her say, hey, every time, because
I'm
use those
human.
things. What's that?
It just shows I'm human.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it, guys. I mean, that's literally you talking about doing it in the car. I mean, I've done all of that. So absolutely awesome. I know this was unscripted, and I know you've shared before, James, but I just wanted to share your story because honestly, it's really what the I like that, Joe. I love I just man I love your story. It's what we're all about. And again, everybody's story might look a little bit different, but I guarantee you there's a lot of similarities. And so I appreciate you, man. I'm fired up.
Guys, I was just saying, dude, anytime, if anybody needs some help or anything, if I'm able to help, hit me in Slack. If I can't, I know just, man, if you're new here and you're in Slack, just hit somebody in the random channel, hit somebody somewhere, because this is an awesome team, guys. It really is. They paved the way to success. All you got to do is follow the path. I'm living proof of it.
Yep.
That's
Well,
all I got, Rich. That's all I got, brother.
I appreciate it, James. You're awesome.